Hey guys, just powering out the videos today. I'm going to be doing a knife review on my Strider SNG. So, getting to it, I'm going to bring you guys down. And here we got a few knives. We got the Strider SNG. We have the military, the new M4 edition, titanium with G10. Just unboxed this bad boy, and man, this knife is sexy. We got my large Sebenza 21 on rocking the carbon fiber scale again, and I got my small Sebenza 21 out. So just a bunch of titanium eye candy for all you knife nuts out there. So getting to the SNG, I chose the SNG Concealed Carry, or CC, and it has the smooth rounded Ranger Green G10 and the flamed titanium side and locking RIL and clip, and it's got the tiger stripe blade. Originally I wanted to do Ranger Green scale with the stonewashed blade and stonewashed titanium scale, but I am not willing to pay $500 for a Strider SNG brand new, so I had to go used, and secondary market is a tough bargain. So when you see a good deal on SNGs, you kind of grab at it, and it's definitely hard to narrow down, especially off the secondary market, the exact one you want. So I went ahead and pulled the trigger on this one, and I really love the flame titanium on the titanium lock side, and the tiger stripe blade is kind of gimmicky, mall ninja-ish, but it's grown on me, and I like it, and I think overall it matches very well. But as you can see, the SNG is typically regarded and compared to the Chris Reeves Sebenza, the large version, because you know from scale to scale they seem to be about the same size, but looks are deceiving. If you guys think these two knives are pretty big, the military just has a tendency to shrink knives. So as you can see here, I can probably move the camera back a little bit. The military just completely shrinks the SNG. So, getting to the specs on the SNG, we're at a closed length of 4 3/4 inches. You got a overall length of 8 1/4 inches, and you have a blade length of 3.5. Now that's 3.5 of the actual whole entire blade. So the actual cutting edge of this is probably more like 3 inches, a little bit less or whatnot. And we're looking at a weight of 4 ounces. So not too heavy. This is actually really light, given the thickness of the blade and having titanium on it. So 4 ounces really isn't that bad. Just some size comparisons here. I'll show you just exactly how much the SNG really looks in comparison to like the military. As you can see, if I bring the SNG all the way back, that's how much knife the military has on the SNG. Oops. So you guys can kind of get an idea there. And obviously blade wise, you can see that the military has much more blade length. And now in more comparison to the Sebenza large, you will see that overall lengths, the knives are fairly similar. Fairly similar. But then when it gets down to it, you got about the same length in overall length, but when you break it down to the blade, the Sebenza's got a heck lot more cutting edge than that of the SNG. So the SNG, like I said, you got about like 3 inches of cutting edge, I think, versus this large Sebenza 21, which is at like 3.6 something, 3.625 or something like that. And which brings me to the reason why I have the small Sebenza 21 out on the table, is because although the SNG and the large Sebenza have almost identical, heights when closed and when open, the small Sebenza is actually more of a better comparison as far as blade length goes, because the small Sebenza 21 actually has a little bit more blade length than that of the SNG, which is kind of funny because as you see here, the SNG is much longer than that of the small Sebenza, yet the blade length, the cutting edge of the Sebenza small 21 is actually longer than that of the SNG. So that goes to show that you're looking at a ton of freaking handle on the Strider knives, on the actual handle itself, and then because of the choil on this, and then you got the even further little bit of a bevel here before you get to the actual cutting edge of the blade. So you gotta know that when you're going into an SNG, is that you're paying a lot for handle, and for a short blade or a short cutting edge. So getting more to the knife here, um, I will not pay 500 for a brand new Strider. I've done countless research, and pretty much all the research that I've done has just proved to say that Strider is a worthy company and they make awesome knives, but they are not typically worth the sticker price because they just tend to overcharge. This knife is brand new for $500, but I definitely did not pay quite near that price. I paid quite a bit less than that. But I mean, you're getting G10 on one side, you're getting titanium on the other, you're getting an S30V blade, and it does have the tiger stripe coating, like I said. You got an oval opener, you got dual thumb studs that also back up as the blade stops. As you see here, this is just empty space, nothing to hold the blade from going in or falling inward. So they have these two pins here that lock up against the frame, so that it doesn't move in, flip all the way in. And it's, as you can see here, it's kind of a modified spear point blade. It's got a full flat grind, and you can't really see it because of the stripe, but it's the blade stock is just barely flat here, and then just starts flat all the way down and across. So full flat grind on this thing, and obviously the blade is pretty thick. When I first opened this, I have handled the SNG before, but I kind of forgot what it felt like to hold in the hand and how thick it was. But the blade is pretty thick. It's similar to that of the Sebenza 21. As you see, the 21 is somewhat thick at the beginning, but the Strider definitely stays thicker until the very tip. The tip is thicker than that of the Sebenza 21, and the overall blade is just a little bit thicker. And especially with that full flat grind versus the Sebenza's hollow grind, the SNG definitely doesn't slice quite as well. So after taking this to work and really putting it to use as far as what my cutting tasks go for, in comparison to that of Sabenza, does not slice nearly as well, but it definitely cuts. It gets the job done. It definitely cuts. It's not like it's unable to do anything that the Sabenza can. It's just that the Sabenza does it better, and that's just because of the blade profile being a high hollow grind and being much thinner. Which is just ideal for slicing. So, Strider's supposed to be known for being tough and rough and, supposed to be able to wail on these things. And the guarantee is, you can break this thing into a million pieces, blow it up with a bomb, and send it back, and they'll replace it or whatnot. But for the average Joe, average person, I really can't see, why you'd need such an overly, robust knife, other than the fact that it just feels good. I mean, you can listen to that lockup. Like it's just really solid, and as you see there, it's about 60% lockup, about 50-60% lockup. The CC version is very comfortable. It fits great in the hand. What's funny is the jimping on the inside here, the inside where it's hollowed out, is actually much better than that on the actual blade. The jimping on the blade is decent, but it's so wide that it's still just kind of slippery. But the jimping on the inside of the handle is actually very grippy, and that's the best position to hold it if you want a secure grip with your thumb. But choking up, definitely, I like to do with my knives, especially with my Spydercos. I like to choke up on those and hold it. As you can see here, when I'm choked up, I got a ton of handle left in the back there when I'm fully choked up in that choil. And so it's almost like I'm holding a straight knife, because as you can see here, this is really thin in comparison to how wide it gets at the back. Like, this is really narrow here. So holding it with like two fingers, you can see how skinny that is. So you really feel like you're locked in there. And as far as the back goes on the SNG, we got this corner here that kind of fits in the crease of my hand right here in the palm. So as you see, as your hand kind of comes together, it kind of rests there. So it's comfortable. So as you can see, it kind of fits just perfect. It's hard to angle my hand this way, but It's just about a perfect fit for my hand, and I have like, you know, small and medium hands, I'd say, and then choked up, my hand kind of rests on top of the blade when I hold it. So, as far as a reverse grip goes, it does actually work very well, I think, with this ramp here, which is like the main point, I believe, which is well jimped, and it feels really good in a reverse grip here. And I think the way they designed the handle, the reason why they started out so skinny and had it widen is just the effect of a wedge. Now, if you're holding a knife that, you know, is just completely straight across, um, I guess you can kind of say the Sabenza, or a better example would be like on the regular Sabenza, is that the handle is just more straight. Is that if you have the handle in, it's much easier to pull the knife out with it just being completely straight. But with a Strider, because of this wedge effect of it increasing in width towards the end, if you're holding it and you're choking up tight with your fingers here, it's going to be pretty hard to pull this knife out of your hand. It's going to be hard. So if you're holding it like this, it's going to be a lot harder to lose your grip on this knife, and that's whether you hold it forward or backwards in a reverse grip. So if you got all four fingers wrapped around here and you're trying to pull this knife free from your hand downward or whatever, it's not going to go anywhere. It's very secure. So tactically, I think they did do a really good job as far as the ergonomics go and the way you hold it. But I just think it's kind of ironic, though, how you get such a short cutting edge. Because ideally, if I'm gonna, you know, get in a tight spot and I'm, you know, have to use a knife, reach is very important. And you definitely have reach with this knife, holding it, you know, far back. But you don't have a lot of cutting edge. You know, you got the military, which has a very long handle, and then it's got a long blade to boot. So I think this is more ideal for someone who doesn't know how to use a knife, if they, God forbid, how to use it. But as far as the Strider goes, um, overall I do like the knife. It is solid. There is no up and down play, but there is slight side to side play. And the reason for that is actually Oromoto pointed it out in his video, and I didn't realize this, is that with these two studs here acting as the blade stop, you have one contacting with the titanium, but the other on the G10 isn't actually contacting with the stud. And that's because, you know, constant flicking of the knife is, you know, gonna wear out the G10 side if it were making contact. So it's gonna be hard to pick up on camera, but it doesn't quite touch the G10 scale. It's only resting on that of the titanium. So with that being said, you can give it a little bit of wiggle. I don't know if you guys can really see that. It's really, really minimal, but you can feel it lean into the G10, making contact when you wiggle it side to side. But nothing that would hinder the use of the knife. I wouldn't deem it really a problem. This one is just about centered. Not perfectly centered, but just about centered. And pocket clip, I think, is a bit too tight. To be honest, it's not going to leave your pocket when it's in there, but it is a tight pocket clip. And of course, also famous with Strider is the hinderer lock stop that they use, the lock stabilizer. So you don't overextend the lock bar. So when you push the lock bar out, you can't overextend it. That thing will keep the lock bar from pushing too far out. And another con I found actually on this knife is the lanyard hole. If you look at straight through that lanyard hole there, you can see it right there. You can see the blade sticking out at the bottom there. So if I were to stick a lanyard in there, the blade would eventually cut the lanyard, or at least fray it. So I thought that was kind of ironic that the blade is kind of sticking where the lanyard hole is. You can kind of see the relief edge right here. So anyways, guys, that is my thoughts and opinions. I really like this knife. Go used, don't buy them brand new. You will be disappointed if you buy this brand new. Opening, even used, this is still not a smooth knife. It's definitely smoother than it would be if I bought it brand new, but it's still a little bit rough moving in and out. So I definitely go secondary market. So that's a really long video, guys. We almost got 15 minutes here. Hopefully you guys stuck with me. I'll probably do a comparison vid with this and Chris Reeve knives, and I also got the video with the Chris Reeve Sabenza 21 with the regular. Alright guys, take it easy.